Okay, let's read off another example now from Brazil. This says University of São Paulo Environmental. Whoops. Let's see the University of São Paulo Environmental Policy Master Plan and Pilot Projects for Pirassununga and Ribeirão Preto campuses. The University of Sao Paulo resolution has established USPs at University of Sao Paulo's environmental policy. Its implementation in all campuses has been achieved through the development of environmental master plan along with the university community. In 2017, USP Pirassununga and Ribeirão Preto, both located in Sao Paulo state, have given rise to the EMP initial ideas environmental master plan initial ideas by organizing working groups covering several topics. All the working groups protected by the resolution are also responsible for describing the campus specificities, defining the general goals, elaborating local indicators and procedures for future monitoring. So this is the first chapter we are looking at in this book that specifically talks about indicators, monitoring and evaluation, developing governance and management models, monitoring, evaluating and reviewing the plan. Really the way it's supposed to be done by the book. USP Pirassununga's campus is 2,300 rural-oriented hectares, offering livestock, veterinary medicine and engineering degrees, so in a very real-life setting. On the other hand, in Ribeirão Preto, there are 8 teaching utilities that offer healthcare science, law, economics and financial science, natural and exact sciences, teaching training and music production degrees. So very varied curricula. There are around 200 people involved in the working groups in Pirassununga and in Ribeirão Preto, and full professors, executive technicians, employees and students being the principal members. So students are a part of the working group as well as technician employees. It's expected that the development of the EMP helps to improve USP sustainability issues. So you have to now go back and see where they are after the book was written, I think a few years ago. I can look up the exact date right here. Let's just do that so that you can go on the web and see if they are reporting on their website what the status of their indicators and evaluations are. So here we are. This is from no date. No dates anywhere. There is a date here, 2019. There you go. So already 5 years. So go and see. Part of this. So here there are lots of details I'm not going to go into. Part of the solid waste in Pirassununga campus's inventory. So these are the data from a personal source of the authors. Waste types: chemical and biological, computing, agropastoral. Quantity generated in tons per year: 23,363 and 1103. Destinations: third-party company, social project, Reciclatask, whatever you can, that is, you can figure out. Agropastoral becomes pet food, composting, crops, fertilization and pastures. So obviously there is at least 2 that are going towards sustainability. I won't go into the details, but let's read the conclusion. The main conclusion I would say is they from the beginning have planned indicators, metrics, evaluation and progress monitoring. University of São Paulo has many campuses distributed in the state of São Paulo, as well as teaching units, museums, research centers in other locations. University has developed several actions aiming at environmental sustainability on its campuses. Thus, the Superintendence of Environmental Affairs has developed and supported institutional strategies. USP's environmental policy have led. So, English problems. USP's environmental policies have led the environmental master plan as tools for the environmental management of the campuses on the light of local priorities. So they are built on the knowledge of local priorities. USP's EP in a coordinated way has come to organize and orient the environmental sustainability issues at the University of São Paulo. The EMP is an important EP USP tool environment policy of the university tool in order to implement the addressed topics such as green areas, ecological reserves, mobility, greenhouse gas emissions, and pollutant gases, environmental education, fauna, so biodiversity, water and effluents, so pollution, sustainable buildings, solid waste, energy, land use, occupation and management, considering each campus specificity. So very detailed plan in terms of considering the sectors. The pilot projects comprise actions in order to enable practical experiences to be replicated in different places and utilities of the campus. The initial environmental master plan work in both the campuses, Pirassununga and Ribeirão Preto, started in the second semester of 2017 with the working groups on different topics. Initially 200 participants, so this is even older than the book, so definitely many years have passed. Initially 200 participants applied in both campuses. The main activities were related to the current diagnosis of both campuses by means of meetings, interviews, online surveys, minutes, map developments, among other strategies. The results are leading the goals and guidelines to be accomplished by this master plan. Environmental policy, practical experimentation of sustainable actions through the PP approached the campus, the following topics: fauna, mobility and waste treatment. On the other hand, in Ribeirão Preto, PP addressed were green areas, ecological reserves, as well as the management of radioactive waste. So that's a healthcare facility which produces medical waste. Among other sustainable actions undertaken on USP campuses, the examples presented in the study can be applied to all the universities considering their unique regional situation. So transferable solutions obviously are important. Additionally, the actions have allowed the development of environmental planning tools on campuses in agreement with the applicable legislation. Okay, so very brief, but I wanted to include it just to show that there are campuses which have solid, extended, detailed plans with monitoring and evaluation for ensuring that the progress and flexibility is there in the plan. Let's move on now. Mind the Gap, developing the campus as a living lab for student experiential learning in sustainability. This is a long chapter, so I'll probably end up splitting it into two. So let's start anyways. Abstract, this chapter develops a new approach to experiential learning for sustainability and will be of interest to those seeking a baseline for distinct conceptualizations of experiential learning and their impacts on matriculating or matriculated students in the longer run. College campuses are communities unto themselves and, as with communities everywhere, confront the challenges of becoming sustainable. Did I go out of the camera here? No, not yet. Okay, so you have to always stay aesthetically pleasing to some who actually send me messages saying I screwed up something, right? So students attend colleges to learn and become knowledgeable in their chosen fields, but perhaps with the exception of research labs, rarely have the opportunity to apply their skills to authentic or real-world problems. They end up taking a job and getting trained to do specific jobs. This experience would allow them to become adept at both technical and cognitive process skills needed after graduation. This is especially true for projects focused on sustainability, which require multidisciplinary perspectives and interactions, and thus are difficult to launch and complete. We suggest that the college campus is an ideal living lab that not only allows students to encounter and think about complex and wicked issues. So we used the word wicked before. Wicked problems are those which don't have solutions, so they have to be agreed upon and resolved, which means they have to be resolved many times over time. And good examples are guns and education and healthcare and abortion and so on. Okay, so also to define actionable opportunities and address really existing problems through collaborative projects that materially contribute to the sustainability of a real-world system. So you do practical work on campus, you implement sustainability, and then you learn from it, and then go out into the real world to do other implementations. Pedagogy supporting the experiential learning can play a critical role in teaching sustainability concepts and practices, and thus in bolstering the campus as a living lab agenda. However, we find competing or ambiguous definitions of experiential learning in the literature and no complete framework for its application in sustainability practice. So living labs are used more generally in training on agricultural education, working with farmers or specific sectors, but sustainability is a much broader agenda as a whole. However, we find competing or ambiguous definitions of experiential learning in the literature and no complete framework for its application in sustainability praxis. Repeating it just for emphasis. This chapter reports on research into sustainability pedagogy, assessment of the educational opportunities in experiential learning at the University of California, Santa Cruz, based on campus efforts to become a more integrated, sustainable system. UC San Diego also has one living lab, I think. Accordingly, we first unpack terminology applied to experiential learning in sustainability from multidisciplinary and multi-departmental perspectives. This review of selected literature combined with data accumulated from students and program facilitators compares and contrasts both the historical significance and current practices of experiential learning to provide a more explicit framework for its implementation in sustainability as part of a coordinated network of distinct living lab entities. So sustainability has multiple components, so you can have living labs that are associated with each concept and combine them together to accomplish overall sustainability. We then employ this framework to discuss a critical gap in college curriculum that was exposed during our investigation into the efficacy of these projects and programs at UC Santa Cruz that may be inhibiting student preparation and their ability to contribute to the campus achieving sustainability benchmarks. So they can actually learn what are the barriers, gaps, and financing issues, financial viability, financial viability issues. Finally, we propose that this lacuna can be mended by working towards a strategic integration of key experiential learning activities earlier in the undergraduate's career. So it can be a learning experience throughout the undergrad degree itself. Let's do the introduction and then split this into another podcast because I know this is fairly long. There is broad agreement that society and civilization must become more sustainable if they are to navigate the global challenge of environmental scarcity. Higher education has been deeply involved in this effort, and the past 2 decades have witnessed programs at most colleges and universities devised to design and implement sustainable solutions to common campus sustainability issues such as food waste, transportation, water use, housing, and energy. In many ways, college campuses are communities unto themselves, and not unlike small cities or small urban suburban areas, small rural areas. They confront similar challenges to becoming sustainable. As Lipschultz, Dewitt, and Lehman have put it, university campuses can be conceptualized as living labs or even as living systems near biological entities with organically connected elements rather than mere agglomerations of pieces and fragments. Moreover, university campuses resemble cities in microcosm in design, landscape, and infrastructural terms, and both are types of spatial institutions that operate according to similar bureaucratic and decision-making principles. So you take a mini city and you put education as the main outcome of the functioning of this city. You have students, learners, you have staff maintaining facilities and computers and other things, and you have administrators, you have teachers, you have researchers, and so on. So it's basically one ecosystem that has a outcome. So in our terminology of institutional analysis, we applied this in many ways. The research methodology used in this paper, with the above discussion in mind, we directed our research toward better understanding the many and different sustainability linked opportunities for experiential learning available at UCSC, with an eye toward applying the experiential learning to create a functioning campus as a living lab. By elucidating common challenges faced among programs and identifying the EL skills needed that affect project efficacy, we could develop approaches for streamlining student preparation, accessibility to and continuity of projects at UCSC. Our methods and corresponding objectives are summarized as below. Phase 1. Conduct a literature review that catalogs approaches to an analysis of EL and its application to CLL and sustainability, campus living labs and sustainability. Provide an understanding of the historical context and diverse usage of these constructs and establish common definitions. So we will look at later on. In phase 2, identify, characterize and assemble an inventory of significant actors across UCSC campus offering self-described student engagement in EL practices and CLL objectives, that is, depict the campus as a living lab network at UCSC and clarify roles and relationships among the various entities. Okay. In phase 3, survey program facilitators and student participants within the different departments, programs and colleges to assess experiences with EL in sustainability, understand student engagement and organize program specific expectations, skills needed and resources, and especially where they might be acquired. So summaries of which appear in this chapter in addition to section 7. It's a long chapter. I'm not going to include all of the material, but it's definitely worth reading if you are planning to implement a living lab in your campus, for example, which is a new concept for many campuses and especially in the global south. Here in India, at IIT Bombay, it's being tried. Phase 4. Conduct a series of in-depth, open-ended interviews with a subset of respondents. Acquire more finely grained information about program design, goals, and function, which is ongoing at the time of writing. The details of our methodology and specific results of our research may be found here, and the results provided here are at the time of the writing, but this site remains, so you can go and see how it's going and whether it is really still sustained. Let me just open it. If I just click it here, actually, let me get out of this and okay, here. That it doesn't take me, so this I have converted to an image, so it doesn't work, but let me do this here in real time just so that I'm sure about whether it's still alive or not. So slab.slides, I mean, of course the site link may have changed, ucsc.edu, and it exists. So sustainability lab at UC Santa Cruz. Yes, so it exists. It is still alive. It has people, collaborators, press. Yes, it's very much active and there are things going on. Press, learning modules. Yes, very functional website that you can go and visit. So lovely, right? So it is actually sustained. Let's leave this part here and come back and continue in the next podcast on background campus as a living lab for learning in sustainability. Sorry to split this into two, but that's okay. You will be forced to watch both if you want to learn about this particular chapter. Okay.